me? So I'm going to chant the mantras. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasvatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudhirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, and to Narayan, which is the supremest human being, and to Mother Sarasvati, the goddess of learning, and unto the author Srila Vyasadeva. So today we are reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, and the Srimad Bhagavatam is like a secondary, study, like after the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So the Bhagavad Gita is considered like the primary study, ABC. I will say that I'm not even at the A, but still, that's how Srila Prabhupada presented. And then secondary study is the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is 18,000 verse. And then Bhagavad Gita, there is 700. And then next, like the graduate study is Chaitanya Charitamrita. So today we are reading from the third canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Status Quo. And the Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a lot of history. Srimad Bhagavatam, there is the creation of the universes, the creation of the material cosmic manifestation, the creation of what's happening in each universe, the creation of all the planetary system, and then also the creation of all the living entities. And then the Srimad Bhagavatam describes in detail the relationship between the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his different form with his devotees through a lot of stories. It's Amala Purana. Puranas are series of stories, and the purest Amala Purana is the Srimad Bhagavatam. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam, we enter many stories, and a lot of stories that we enter in the Srimad Bhagavatam, they are side stories and stories, like one person speaking to another sage that tells the story of another person speaking to another person. And like that, sometimes we have many layers. And that's where we are at. So today we are reading from the third canto, the fifth chapter, entitled Vidura, Talk with Maitreya. And we are on verse, that's the wrong page. We are on verse 7. Why is the page was not in the right page? We're on verse 7. So I'm going to say one Sanskrit word at a time that we can pronounce in call and response. Pidan, Vidate, Vija, Go, Suranam, Shemaya, Karmani, Avatara, Vedai, Mana, Na, Iptyati, Api, Srinvatam, Na, Sushloka, Maule, Charita, Amritani, Pridam Vidate Dvijago Suranam,
Vidate Dvijago Suranam,
Shemaya Karmanya Vatara Bedai. Mano Nadriptya Tyapi Shrin Vatamna. Sushlokamaules Charitamritani. Idam vidate dvijago suhanam. Shemaya Karmanya Vatara Bedai. Mano Natriptya Tyapi Shrin Vatamna. Sushlokamaules Charitamritani. Idam vidate dvijago suhanam. Shemaya Karmanya Vatara Bedai. Mano Natriptya Tyapi Shrin Vatamna. Sushlokamaules Charitamritani. You can chant.
Idam vidate dvijago suranam.
Idam vidate dvijago suhanam. Shemaya Karmanya Vatara Bedai. Namo Natriptya Shrin Vatamna. Sushlokamaules Charitamritani.
Idam vidate dvijago suranam.
Idam vidate dvijago suhanam.
Shemaya Karmanya Vatara Bedai.
Shemaya Karmanya Vatara Bedai.
No Natriptya Tyapi Shrin Vatamna.
Mano Natriptya Shrin Vatamna. Sushlokamaules Charitamritani. Someone online who has to chant? Okay, so we can read one word, Sanskrit word at a time, and then in Korean respond to English translation. Kridan, manifesting pastimes. Vidate, he performs. Vicha, twice born. Go, cows. Suranam, of the demigods. Shemaya, welfare. Formani, transcendental activities. Avatar, incarnation. Vedais, differently. Mana, mind. Na, never. Pripyati, satisfies. Happy, in spite of. Shrinvatam, continuously hearing. Na, our. Sushloka, auspicious. Mole, of the Lord. Charita, characteristics. Amritani, undying. Translation. So that's Vidura with traveling, and he met a sage, Maitreya. So Vidura is inquiring about the Lord. That's what's happening in this part of the Srimad Bhagavatam. I'm saying that before starting reading for you to kind of situate yourself. So it's someone who met a sage, is a very advanced devotee, and is speaking, is asking questions about the Lord. And he asks, you may narrate also about the auspicious characteristics of the Lord in his different incarnations for the welfare of the twice born, the cows, and the demigods. Our minds are never satisfied completely. Also, we continuously hear of his transcendental activities. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The Lord appears in this universe in different incarnations like Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, and Nrsimha, and he manifests his different transcendental activities for the welfare of the twice born, the cows and the demigods. The Lord is directly concerned with the twice born or civilized man. A civilized man is one who has taken birth twice. A living entity takes birth in his mundane world due to the union of male and female. A human being is born due to the union of the father and mother, but a civilized human being has another birth by contact with a spiritual master, who becomes the actual father. The father and mother of the material body are so only in one birth. In the next birth, the father and mother may be a different couple. But the bona fide spiritual master, as a representative of the Lord, is the eternal father, because the spiritual master has the responsibility to lead the disciple to spiritual salvation, or the ultimate goal of life. Therefore, a civilized man must be twice born. Otherwise, he is no more than a lower animal. The cow is the most important animal for developing the human body to perfection. The body can be maintained by any kind of foodstuff, but cow milk is particularly essential for developing the finer tissue of the human brain so that one can understand the intricacies of transcendental knowledge. A civilized man is expected to live on foodstuff comprising fruit, vegetable, grain, sugar, and milk. The bull helps in the agricultural process of producing grain, etc. And thus, in one sense, the bull is the father of mankind, whereas the cow is the mother, for she supplies milk to human society. A civilized man is therefore expected to give all protection to the bulls and cows. The demigods, or the living entities who live in the higher planets, are far superior to human beings. Since they have better arrangement for living conditions, they live far more luxuriously than human beings, yet they are all devotees of the Lord. The Lord incarnates in different forms, such as those of a fish, a tortoise, a hog, and a combined lion and man. Just to give protection to civilized man, the cows and the demigods are differently responsible for the regulative life of progressive self-realization. The whole system of the material creation is planned so that the conditioned soul may have the opportunity for self-realization. One who takes advantage of such an arrangement is called a demigod or civilized man. The cow is meant to help maintain such a high standard of living. The Lord pastime for the protection of the twice-born civilized men, the cow and the demigods, are all transcendental. A human being is inclined to hear good narration and stories, and therefore there are so many books, magazines, and newspapers on the market to satisfy the interest of the developed soul. But the pleasure in such literature after it is read once becomes stale, and people do not take any interest in reading such literature repeatedly. In fact, newspapers are read for less than an hour and then thrown in a dustbin as rubbish. The case is similar with all other mundane literatures. But the beauty of transcendental literature like Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam is that they never become old. They have been read in the world by civilized men for the last 5,000 years, and they have never become old. They are ever fresh to the learned scholar and devotees. And even by daily repetition of the verses of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, there is no cessation for devotees like Vidura. Vidura might have heard the pastime of the Lord many, many times before he met Maitreya. But still, he wanted the same narration to be repeated because he was never satiated by hearing them. That is the transcendental nature of the Lord's glorious pastimes. I'm going to continue to invoke auspiciousness with a few mantras. You can find those mantras in the beginning of the introduction of the Bhagavad Gita. Om Agyanati Miramdasya Gyanajala Shalakaya Chakshun Militan Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Upakadamayam Dadati Swapadam Tikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuttapadakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitas Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Cha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gourange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Tinamine Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvesesha Shunyavadi Pastyachade Jatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we are reading from the third canto, titled The Status Quo, chapter 5, Vidura Talks with Maitreya. And we are on text 7 that reads, You may narrate also about the auspicious characteristics of the Lord in his different incarnations for the welfare of the twice born, the cows and the demigods. Our minds are never satisfied completely. Also, we continuously hear of his transcendental activities. Hare Krishna, welcome everyone. So there is so much to this purport and so much to this verse. And so many of you, some know a lot, some know little. So I'm going to speak something, and I pray for the blessing of all the teachers, that all the masters will come and empower me, and for the blessing of the listeners, that with your desire to hear, that I will be empowered to speak. So there is a lot. And so the Lord comes to help us, and he comes again and again. And often in the Srimad Bhagavatam, he comes to protect the demigods. In fact, I'm just reading about the 8th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And the demigods, they are the residents of the heavenly planet, which are the upper planetary system in our universe. In our universe, there is 14 planetary systems. There is lower planetary system, middle planetary system, where the Earth is situated. And then there is the upper planetary system. Is that far out? Yes, we have such a knowledge in the Srimad Bhagavatam that recently I was speaking with my dear friend about the Bible, and the Bible is really a recent history and is lacking, for example, about the creation of Earth. There's nothing about the universe, there's nothing, there's just Adam and Eve. That's where it starts. But we have so much more knowledge, like Christ said, like I have so much more to tell you. And we receive so much more knowledge out of unconditional mercy. Mercy from Srila Prabhupada, who came here to give us that knowledge. So the demigods, they are in the upper planetary system, and they are in charge. Like in school in France, in the first year of middle school, we study the Greek mythology. I don't know if we do that in America. I've never been to school in America, but we study the Greek mythology. So in the Greek mythology, they have they have different gods in charge of the rain, in charge of the water, in charge of the sun god, the moon god, and all that. So the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Vedic literature also tell us that there is superior being called demigods who are in charge. Of course, they are not independent. They are depending also on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they are very close to Him, so much so that the Lord gives them service, very important service for the functioning of the universe. And those demigods, they are in charge of the weather, they are in charge of the water, sun god, something than the mythology. The Greek mythology is very, very close to what's expressed in the Veda. And it's very fascinating to see how so many literature, so many thoughts are interacting or intercepting. And in a sense, it shows us how everything comes from one source. Maybe it's scattered around, maybe it's diluted around. However, it's all come from one source. So when the demigod, because they are very pious and because they are very close to the Lord, they have trouble. The first things they do, they go see Lord Vishnu. And then Lord Vishnu usually find a way to help them by taking different form. And sometimes even take form in animal species. To serve the Veda, he took the form of a fish, Matsya. And to answer the demigods being afraid because there was a demon that was so powerful, he was doing so much austerity, Hiranyakashipu, he was doing so much austerity that he had power, mystic power, and he could control the world. And in fact, the three planetary systems were trembling when this demon was doing his austerity. So Lord Brahma, he came like, oh, you have to do something because he has too much power. And then the Lord incarnated as a half man and half lion. And then in the Bible, he incarnated as a burning bush, speaking to Moses. So the Lord come in different time to help the demigods and to help pious living entities, acharyas, how they are called in the Bible, the people, one after another. Like there is Abraham and Moses and prophet. He comes to help the prophets, because they are also Brahmanas, they are Dvija, they are twice born. And here in this purport, Srila Prabhupada explain what twice born means. Twice born and reborn, like when I came to America, in France, we only have Catholic Church. But in America, you have so many Christianity, like so much Christianity. And then there is born again. And the idea is like really rare right there. Dvija is twice born. So born again, and that's it. Born again is when I accept Christ. I accept a spiritual master who is eternally there to take me back to Godhead. So twice born, so we are born first from a mother and a father. And Srila Prabhupada is kind of funny in his purport because he said, okay, that's a birth of the body. That's a birth of the body, but we are not this body. So when the body is born of a mom and a dad, and in this life, we have one father and mother, and at the same time, we had so many mom and dad. There is a story in the Srimad Bhagavatam, is a story of King Kshetraketu. And King Kshetraketu, he was very miserable because even though he had many wives, and even though he tried very hard, he didn't have a son, he didn't get a son. And so he approached the twice born, he approached the sages, and he begs them. And the twice born say, okay. And then it was really said that this is going to bring you the greatest joy and the greatest sorrow. Anyway, that's part of the story. And so King Kshetraketu, he did get a child. He did get a child, and that child, it was the love of his father, and just because he was born, also the father was very affectionate to the mother of that child more than to his other wives. So the other wives kind of got jealous because they didn't have a child from their husband. And also in a Vedic time, women were protected by those were a lot of money and protection. They were taking more than one wife. It's a system. It's still the system in some place in America, for example, in Utah. We have the Mormons, and they live in harmony. They live in harmony. They because it's part of the culture. It's something that's natural for them. So of course now it's not very politically correct, but we can just be open our mind to the possibilities that it could be a good arrangement. But in that situation, they were jealous because women have a tendency to be jealous. Yeah, that's the psychophysical nature of that kind of vehicle. You know, it's not about our soul is the same, my soul is the same than anyone in anybody. Still, by the psychophysical nature of certain bodies, there is characteristics. So they were jealous, so they poisoned the son. And then the king, he was lamenting. And then the sage, Narada Muni, came to the scene and said, why are you lamenting? Well, my son is dead and all that. And so the son came back to life. And as he came back to life, he saw his father crying and said, who are you? And then he said, well, I'm your father. He said, which father? I have so many fathers. I had so many fathers, so many mothers. And that's the truth for all of us. And not simply human father and mother. We may have a pig mother and father. We may have a cow or dog or amoeba or so many lifetimes according to the creation and the order of things in the universe. We are reincarnating so many times, life after life after life, in 8,400,000 species of life. And in each of those 8,400,000 species of life that we are incarnated into, we had a mom and dad. We did have a mom and dad. So there's nothing really special about being a mom or dad and giving birth to a body. You know, that's what we do. We give birth to a body. And we are not this body. And in fact, we don't belong to this body. And most of us, we have a sense of that. Most of us. I remember when I was a little girl, first I didn't like to be a little girl. I really hated it. I really hated anything that had to do with girls. And I was feeling so uncomfortable. And I knew there was something else. I knew there was something else I needed to discover. From a very young age, maybe 6-year-old, I knew there was an alternative way of seeking things because this didn't work for me. Being in that body didn't work for me because it doesn't work for any of us. It doesn't work for any of us. However, when we are covered by ignorance, it's a ignorance is bliss. So the pigs and the cats and the dogs, then they are in ignorance enough that they just play. I'm a dog. Okay, I'm going to be, yakking my tail and, like, and I'm going to act like a dog. And they don't ask questions. Who am I? What's the purpose of human life? And according to the Veda, until that point of inquiring about the purpose of human life, we are, no better than four-legged animal. I don't remember Sanskrit. I read it not so long ago. I wanted to remember, but I didn't remember. The two-legged animals. There is Tripada something. Tripada Pashu, that's what it is. Tripada, two-legged animal. So let's look at that. Let's just analyze. Okay, what are the activities of the animal? We just analyze that. We are open to that. Okay. So activity of animals is eating. So I'm eating too. And sleeping, I'm sleeping too. In fact, last night, for the first time in a long time, I slept. I felt so good. I feel like a new person. Yesterday, I was in such a funk and it was so hard because I had many nights without sleep. And last night I slept. So I feel a lot better. So sleep is important. The body needs sleep. The body needs eating. As long as we are not transcendental to the body, we need those things. However, they are not necessarily like conducive for the soul. They are conducive for the body. Yeah. So eating, sleeping, then, in order to have children and in order to satisfy our desire, we need a mate. So mating. So animals mate, they found mates and they have sex wherever in nature and in different ways. The fish or the dogs, they have sex. And we have sex too. Okay, so that's still an activity that's same animals, human being. And then, okay, so eating, sleeping, mating. And the last one is defending, like animals. It's just constantly on the go. Like, so often I look at birds, and birds are beautiful. They fascinate me. The color of birds fascinates me. Sometimes I'm just stunned and I just look at birds. And at the same time, looking at them, I can see how afraid they are. A small sound or anything makes a jerk completely and they fly away, even if there is no danger. Nothing is happening and they are so scared. So defending. So the different animals defend in different ways. We tend to defend very violently with weapons of mass destruction. We defend sometimes with our clever, rationalization, manipulation. So, but we defend. So that's okay. So that means that when we are achieved that human birth, which is a very rare, it's a now that you have achieved the human birth, after cycling into 8,400,000 species of life. Often I said, like, let's say this is the land of David Wolf, okay? And we couldn't even count how many ants there is in that little piece of land. Yeah, we couldn't count, like roaches or blade of grass. There is so many living entities having blade of grass or trees or ants experience. So many living entities having different form. Like a majority of the living entity in that little piece of land are not humans. So that's how rare the human birth is. And then we can expand that to the whole earth, and we can expand that to, the whole universe, this universe, and then the whole creation with all the universes. So thus, the human birth is very, very rare and very difficult to obtain, only obtain after cycling again and again and clearing all what prevents us from coming to the human birth. And so when we come to the human birth, we have a special opportunity to inquire about the nature of the absolute truth. And until and unless we come to that point of inquiry, Atato Brahma Jigyasa, about the absolute truth, we are no better than the three-pada pashu, two-legged animals. If all our endeavor, and if we look at society, Walmart, endeavor in science, endeavor in so many directions, political, social, scientific endeavor in our society, it's all to make our eating better, even so it's more and more degrading. Our sleeping better, even so more and more people need sleeping pill like me, and to make our mating better, even so like there is so much confusion now. So every endeavor that's made by society and social order of science, it usually degrade even the animal propensity, everything. And then the defending is just like nuclear weapons and so many crazy ways that are invented. And it's very rare to find anything in society that go further than that. So as long as the society doesn't go further than that, then human beings are not going to be fully satisfied. They are not going to be fully completed in their yearning. And then they are going to continue to yearn and feel like, I don't belong here. I don't belong in this body. It feels uncomfortable to be in this body. I know there is something else. Let me find it. So people try to find it in different ways. Sometimes it's twisted way in eating more, or sometimes it's like I'm going to work out and have a beautiful house and a big bank account. Sometimes it's in drugs. Sometimes it's like transforming something or other to try to quench that feeling that I don't belong here. We are inventing so many things, and every year, every decade, something new is invented to give us the illusion that we can escape. In fact, I have my notebook here, and when I read, I take a lot of notes. And recently, I took a note that I really like to read with you. It's from the 8th canto, 5th chapter and 30th verse. He said, the external energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead give all conditioned soul what appears is a really important word here, to be an opportunity to be happy within this material world. So we will find new ways. Society, so science, Western medicine, teachers, everyone is going to find new ways. They are going to give a new way that appear to be an opportunity to be happy within this material world. But that is Maya. In another word, it is a dream that is never to be fulfilled. So no matter what we change, no matter what we rectified, no matter how hard we work, no matter how we try to fight reality and fix reality, this is a dream and it's never going to be fulfilled. So our yearning, Ananda Myopia said, by nature, we are happiness seeking being. We want happiness, and that's natural. We all want to be happy. We all want to be satisfied. However, as long as we continue to find happiness within the realm of the eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, within the realm of like, maybe if I fix that or change that, I'm going to be happy. It's just not going to work. It's just going to create more problems. And we can see so many problems are created. There is places on earth where people cannot even breathe because the air cannot be, there is no more air. So the basic necessity of life, like air and water, are not available. That's how we are fixing problems. That's how we are trying to find happiness and creating more and more problems. So that doesn't work. What works is described here by Viduha. What works is inquiring about the absolute truth, constantly inquiring and hearing about the absolute truth. And when we hear about the absolute truth, when we hear about the personality of Godhead, when we hear about the creation, when we hear about who we are and what's our duty, when we hear about, even if we hear, like, for example, in the Bhagavad Gita and even the Bhagavatam, we can see two tracks to those literature. One tract is really understanding where we are at, okay? The prison house. You know, like if I'm in prison, like I did a course once, 6 days. I was doing 5 hours for 6 days in a juvenile detention center. And it was really intense. And for 6 days, I went to the prison and I spoke with some of the boys. So they needed to first realize I'm in prison before they start, you know, hearing that there's things you can do to get out of prison. But as long as they were thinking, and they were in that mentality, they were kids, they were in that mentality of enjoying, trying to find enjoyment in their situation, trying to tricks, trying to continue to maybe even be delinquent in some way or another, trying to continue to do relationship or to use others for their pleasure. That's what's happening in prison. Instead of, oh, I'm a prisoner and I live with prisoners too. And let me understand completely my situation. Okay, I made a mistake and I found myself thrown in prison. And here is how the prison works. If I behave in a certain way, then I will have good points. And in that, I will get education coming my way. I will get more resources coming my way, more privilege coming my way. And also I will learn more how to integrate myself when I go in the outside world. I will learn how to be happy when I come out of the prison and what is happiness, what is real happiness, which is not to steal or murder or anything. So similarly, it's our position. And the more we hear about, you know, where we are at, what's the way to free ourselves from the prison and what freedom is, the more we satisfy the yearning of the soul. The soul, you know, really desires that. So Viduha is saying, like, he cannot stop hearing. He cannot stop hearing. The more we hear about Krishna, the more we want to hear about Krishna. And the more we hear about Krishna, there is a word here in our verse, Srinvatam. There's a beautiful verse in Srimad Bhagavatam that says Srinvatam, again, Srinvatam, Swakata Krishna, Punya Shravana Kirtana, Ridantasto Yabradvani, Vidunoti Suit Satam. And that verse is says Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is residing in our heart as super soul. That's another aspect of the Lord, that he incarnates to save us, but he always incarnates to save us because he's always with us inside our heart. And he said, it cleanses the heart of the truthful devotee. So truthfulness is important. The truth will set you free. So to the truthful devotee who have developed an urge to hear those narrations that are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. So when we hear about the personality of Godhead from the proper source, you know, it's not like we are going to, like if we want to learn mathematics, for example, high-level mathematics, well, you know, I can go to I can go to someone in the street that I pick and I say, well, you look cool. You look really cool and attractive. Wow, you're really awesome, a person. I want to learn, you know, high-level mathematics. And then, you know, them speculating something, and then at the end, we are not going to get a degree. At the end, we are not going to have much knowledge of mathematics. So there's a process. I go to university and I pass, you know, the different layer, and then I come to a place of, you know, the high level mathematics. So naturally, it's the same thing in spiritual life. We want to hear from the proper source, a source of knowledge that's infallible, achuta, infallible. And that source of knowledge that's infallible is coming from the spiritual master who is a pure representative of God. Spiritual master who come also sent by the Lord to save us, The Lord incarnates repeatedly, yada yada ida masya, planir bhavati, bhavata, bhutanam madharmasya. Fourth line is escaping me. Anyway, so the Lord say comes, yada yada, he comes again and again. Again and again. Why does he come? He comes to protect his devotees, protect the twice-born, protect the cows, protect the demigods. And he comes also to annihilate the miscreants, annihilate what's dark, what's is a disturbance, like what's a disturbance. And so he does that when he comes himself. He does that as when he comes as a super soul inside our heart. And he cleans, as the more we want to hear about him, the more he helps us and clean our heart. And he does that in sending representative, like Mohammed, Christ, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, and representatives that are going to come and pick us up. I remember, like I had that yearning from a very young age. And then when I was 15-year-old in 1977, I received a Bhagavad Gita in the street. I met a devotee who gave me a Bhagavad Gita. He asked for a donation, and I said, no way, I'm not going to give you a donation. And somehow he saw something in me because he gave it to me, gave me his Bhagavad Gita. And I went home, I opened it, I didn't understand anything. There was all squiggly thing, and I didn't know what to do with it. I read maybe a page. And we know, just reading one word, our heart is melted. Layers and layers. It says in Nectar of Devotion that even reading, you know, a little bit, hearing a little bit about Krishna, chanting the name of Krishna. Well, if I read a page of the Bhagavad Gita at the time, even so I didn't understand anything. Even so I closed the book, never to open it again. That book I read. And it says that when you read or chant even once the name of the Lord, like layers and layers of sinful karmic reaction fly away from your body like butterfly, like birds, flock of birds flying out. So that's what's happened. That's what's happened. And it was Srila Prabhupada picking me up. Somehow or other, out of his causeless mercy, and maybe because I had some yearning desire for another world, he came in that form. But that wasn't enough for me. And we all can retrace moments when Srila Prabhupada came in our life. Like after we come to Krishna consciousness, I know I have heard so many stories of people saying, oh, I remember I was a kid and I passed in the street. I was with my mom. And there were those crazy people chanting Hare Krishna in the street. My mom pulled me away, but I remember. And that child heard the holy name of the Lord. And later on, because the journey has started, because the spiritual master already awakened something within ourselves, then later on, it fructified. And it took me a long time between that encounter. First encounter was 11-year-old when I saw Krishna, the picture of Krishna, 15-year-old, and 19-year-old I saw Harinam. And it took me until I was, in my late 20s to finally realize, oh, what I've been looking for all my life is Krishna. We all look for Krishna. At the introduction of the Krishna book, it says, there is an introduction by George Harrison from the Beatles. And George Harrison wrote the preface to Krishna book. And he said, we are all looking for Krishna. We are all looking for Krishna. But we have a tendency to look in a wrong way, in a wrong direction, in a wrong, places, not really understanding that, yes, there is a yearning in my heart. And so often I see people in my life, and they are ready to do things in their life, or ready to take a big endeavor, or work hard, or do, things to themselves or to others, and the yearning is true, but the interpretation of the yearning, or the interpretation of how I can serve, like fulfills that yearning, is that lead us to more and more degrade ourselves and entangle ourselves in a mode of material nature. So there is so many points to that purport, and I barely touch on any. So I want to go to the cows. The cow is the most important animal for developing the human body to perfection. The body can be maintained by any kind of foodstuff, but cow's milk is particularly essential for developing the finer tissues of the human brain so that one can understand the intricacies of transcendental knowledge. So basically, the Lord come, he said, he comes to really protect all the different aspects in the universe, all the different beings in the universe that are very, very important for our salvation. So the demigods are very important. They provide for us, and they are the ones that help us live a healthy life. You said, Kamasyan Anandriya Priti, Loba Jivata Yavata, Jivasya Tadvat Vigyasad, Nartayas Shea Karmabi. He said, life desire should never be directed towards sense gratification. And he said, one should desire a healthy life or self-preservation. So self-preservation is natural, and that's where the demigod come in to healthy life, self-preservation. They help us in that. Why? Because human life is made for inquiry about the absolute truth, and nothing else should be the goal of one's work. So Krishna, specifically in this verse, is showing us that there is an order of things, and there is a place where everything is very well organized. Often I'm in awe of something that, with my limited vocabulary, I call intelligence. But of course, intelligence doesn't cover it. But I'm amazed often of the system that Krishna has created, and the system he has created for us to get out of the system too. So part of that, the demigods, and then the twice born, those who have given their life to God. The twice born is born again, in a real sense. Like born again is really someone who dedicates their life to God, to Christ, to follow the teaching, those that not kill. If you eat animals, you're not following Christ. Those that not kill. No, it doesn't say murder. It doesn't say the interpretation people give to like, wow, I'm off this hook. I don't need to follow. Is that it's said not kill human being, but killing is one word and murdering is another. So to not kill animals and in the Bhagavad Gita I said, Patram Pushpam Param Tayam Yo Me Bhakta Prayojati. And I don't know the next, but it doesn't come to my mind. Krishna said, if you offer me a leaf, a flower, something small, some water, with devotion, I will accept it. And we want to only eat what God accepts. And God doesn't accept the killing of animals for feeding our body. God doesn't accept that. And if we kill animals, there is a consequence. It's not a free pass to take the life of another living entities without permission. It's like smashing someone else's apartment, going to someone and say, okay, oh, that's your house, I'm going to smash it without permission. That's the same thing. So in the universe, there is a cow, and the cow has a very special place, a very symbiotic relationship with human. In fact, the cow life is one doorway towards next life becoming a human. There is 3 doorways, and the cow is one of them. And the cows is protected by the Lord because of that specific role that the cow plays. And it explained in a Vedic literature that by drinking milk and only that substance, we have an opportunity to develop finer tissues in our brain. And those finer tissues in our brain allow us to understand God. So those finer tissue, of course, we are not depending on any material arrangement. It's not like if I don't drink milk for some reason, I'm not going to be able to understand God. However, it's like everything else. There is a system that God gives us, and we can use the system, but at the same time, because God is independent, our salvation is also independent of those things. However, for our own protection, there is rules and regulation, and if we follow them, and if we follow the orchestration of the universe, then it's helping us. So the cow milk and the synergy and the symbiotic relationship between cows and human beings is that human beings are supposed to protect the cows. And of course, now it's like really scary because the cows need mostly to be protected from human beings. But in an ideal Vedic society, the cows will need to be protected from tigers and lions, not from human beings. The human beings' role. So we are fallen so far away. We are fallen so far away in this Kali Yuga from the original responsibility of human beings to protect the cow, because the cows now they are abused by human beings, exploited by human beings. We are fallen so far away, and that's why this life now in Kali Yuga is so complex, complicated, violent, twisted, disgusting. So much torture of inner torture, outside torture, because of the crime that humanity are committing towards cow. So here, Srila Prabhupada takes the time to tell us the beauty of being, and if you have taken space, like take time to go and spend time with cows, they are so pacifying, they are so motherly, so grounding. And if we, I remember I was living in a farm in Pennsylvania, and my daughter was very young at that time. And sometimes I will mix a cow and I will squirt milk, and she will open her mouth. She will drink some the milk like that. And I remember once we were milking the cow, and my daughter was really bothering the cow. She had taken a rag that we are cleaning, and she wanted to clean, she was maybe 3 or something like that. She wanted to clean the cow with a rag. And the cow did a little nudge like that to tell her, I have enough. But it was obvious that the cow understood that it was a small human being. Because with us, when we wanted to bring the cow, she was really rough, way more rough. But with my daughter, she just nudged her like that. And my daughter, it wasn't enough for her. So she went back and she was wiping the cow. And the cow did a little bit more nudge. And I said, well, Chitra, you need to stop. She doesn't like it. And of course, sometimes 3 or 4 year old don't listen. So she went back at the cow, and all of a sudden the cow took her and took her up and lifted her away. And even when she did that, I could really see the love the cow had for that little human. There was no aggressivity. There was no aggressivity. There was just like assertiveness from the cow, like, leave me alone. I don't want to be wiped by a towel anyway. So at the end of the purport, Srila Prabhupada says about pastimes and about, I often go to San Francisco Park, like 3 or 4 times a week I go there. It's next to where I live, so I spend a lot of time. And every time I go, I see people, like group of people. And I pass by and I hear them, they're so eager to speak about their bicycles. And the last model of Rex or whatever, and it can last for hours. And next Sunday, they speak about the bicycle again. And that's quite amazing because I couldn't even bear 2 minutes of bicycle speaking. So we have a tendency to want to hear about something. That's a natural tendency. And at the same time, it's true that most of the things we hear about, they become stale very quickly. Of course, the bicycle talk doesn't seem to be. But then they have new model all the time to keep people busy. New model, new theory, new protective things. At one point it was small tire, now it's big tire. There's always changes, but you need change in order to stay involved, because if there is no change, then you don't get involved. So with most literature, it's like that. We read one book, some people, they told me they read Harry Potter many times. It's surprising, but it's possible. Maybe there is something a little bit more elevated in Harry Potter. But most people, they read a book once and then they go to the next one. And I love what Srila Prabhupada said about newspaper. And we just spoke about that yesterday in our Nectar of Devotion group. And someone shared, my father, I will not say who shared that, but my father every day reads the newspaper, every day receives the newspaper, and he reads it. Many times people read the newspaper as they drink their caffeine, and when it's done, they put it in the trash. That's how valuable material news are. They go in the trash, in the dustbin. And I have read, Bhagavad Gita maybe 10 times, and Srimad Bhagavatam, again, I'm trying to go through the Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and it feels ever fresh. There is something about hearing about spiritual knowledge that's ever fresh. It doesn't matter how many times I hear I'm not this body. I want to hear I'm not this body from different paradigms. And I want to little by little allow that to penetrate me, because I can hear about it. And of course, I have more experience now about I'm not this body than I had 30 years ago. And I know that I have less experience than in 10 years. And by hearing again and again, and it's ever fresh, it's not like I need to push myself. It's just very natural to hear about our constitutional position, to hear, I am an eternal servant of Krishna. Let me hear about that person that is at the origin of me. Sarva Karanam, the cause of all causes, the one from which I emanate as a part and parcel, the one that I came from, who specifically emanated me for his pleasure. I am a pleasure-seeking entities, and I'm a pleasure-giving entity. 100% a pleasure-giving entities. I am fully equipped to give pleasure to the Lord. I am fully equipped to be enjoyed by him. Like we are all female. It says there is only one male, Krishna, And then everybody is a female to be enjoyed by Krishna. So we are all female. And it's say, like in a dynamic, usually male, female is a male is an enjoyer and the female is enjoyed. And of course, when the female is enjoyed, she enjoys even more than the male enjoying. So there's a dynamic like that. So we are all to be enjoyed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And when we are fully enjoyed by the Personality of Godhead, to surrender to Him guiding us and taking us where we are supposed to go, then that's when we fully enjoy, fully experience our true nature, Sat Chit Ananda, our nature of eternity, our nature of knowledge. We have all the knowledge inside our heart that is awakening to Super Soul Whispering, to the spiritual master, coming to us, and through our surrender, Krishna in the heart, revealing that knowledge. And Ananda is our nature. Bliss is our nature. We are naturally blissful. That's our nature. That's our God-given quality, to be joyful and blissful. So the more we serve the source, the cause of all causes, the one from whom we emanate, the more we have a potential to give him pleasure. And when our source have pleasure, we have pleasure. Like when we water the root of the trees, all the leaves and twigs and flower get the water. So if we give pleasure to Rama, the reservoir for pleasure, then all the twigs and the leaves that we have, we get that pleasure, and we get to fully be situated. Satatam kirtayanto mam. You read that verse this morning. Yatontascha Rita Vataha Namasyanti Shamam Bhaktya Nitya Yukta Upasate. So 24 hours a day, Satatam. Satatam means always. Always doing what? Glorifying the Lord. What's the best way to glorify the Lord? What's the best way? Srinvatam Swakata Krishna, Chetodarpana Marjanam is like to chant the holy name of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, thank you for listening. And I will read the verse again, and then we can open for question, comment, discussion, sharing. Idam vidate dvijago suranam shemaya karmanya vatara veda mano natiptya chapi srinvatamna shushlokamoles charitamritani. You may narrate also about the auspicious characteristics of the Lord in his different incarnations for the welfare of the twice born, the cows, and the demigods. Our minds are never satisfied completely. Also, we continually hear of his transcendental activities. So yes, like no matter how much we hear about Krishna, we just want to hear more. There's never like, oh, I'm done. No, it's like the more we hear, the more we want to hear. Hare Krishna. Any comment, question, discussion? Sharing what's happening for you. Hearing this verse, hearing the class. Any question how to relate what we read to your individual situation, your life experience.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Nasiya Prabhu.
Yes, I was just relishing your class, and it was a nice continuation of Nectar of Devotion, and one of Krishna's qualities of being ever fresh, and that was my pearl from yesterday, and it's continued this morning. So I just love that. Yeah, that's my experience as well, is that I can't get enough of reading Prabhupada's books and reading about Krishna, and taking the Bhagavad Gita course 3 times. It seems like I always have new realizations, and every time I read a verse again, something else happens for me that was something that I needed to hear and to put into my life. And so it just seems like it's always perfect and complete. So whatever is happening, and again this morning was affirmation that I love the ever fresh. And so thank you for keeping it ever fresh for me. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Anasuya. Yeah, quite amazing that just yesterday in our Nectar devotion reading, we read about Everfresh, and it was your pearl, and you shared, and you're sharing again now, how you're reading, like you cannot be satiated by the reading Bhagavad Gita, reading any of Srila Prabhupada's books, and the more you read, the more you want to read, and each time you read, it's like ever fresh. And that's my experience too. Often I say, I never read that. Even in the Bhagavad Gita or anything, I never saw that. Or I hear a verse that I have repeated so many times, or that even I quote or anything. And all of a sudden there is a new insight. Oh, that's an interesting way. Like I'm hearing it differently somehow. So it's like, it's that dynamic of ever freshness, of Ananda Buddhi Vardhanam, like everlasting, like ever growing, everlasting joy that's increasing at every moment. Like at the end of the Bhagavad Gita, it said, hearing this, Sanjaya said, is a thrill at every moment. We can never be satiated. It's a thrill at every moment. And you have that experience. And you feel so much joy that you cannot stop reading. Thank you, Anasuya Prabhu, for sharing.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I just wanted to share a couple thoughts. Right. So, like, I have generally resisted reading, even though when I finally do read, I love it. Like, I love the theory. I love hearing from Prabhupada. It's always striking. And what have I done? What have I been doing not reading? And I feel like there's a lot of maybe like, I mean, I want to take responsibility that I'm not doing this simple service of hearing from my spiritual master. And at the same time, there is, I feel, experience like a compassion or co-creation that I haven't read for some reason. Like it's not like I'm all bad and the experience doesn't serve me that I wasn't reading. It still can serve me, the experience of not reading, as a contrast for the rest of my life. Like, and when I go to read and like kind of try to get back into it, it's always perfect, like that place. Like, oh, I stopped reading, but this is what I need to read this. Like there's still co-creation going on. It's not just like I'm a bad soul, condemn me or something. And that happened recently. Wherever I picked back up, I was like, oh my gosh, this is perfect. This moment, like it needed to be now. Like, and I have goosebumps. It's like I feel compassion, and I feel like there's still magic in it all. Like despite all my flaws, there's still like a beautiful like orchestration.
Yeah.
It's
never wrong. It's never wrong.
Yeah, it's touching to me. I always feel spoken to when I read from Prabhupada. I always feel spoken to. It's always magical. Like when I finally get to it. I mean, yes, sometimes I'm spaced out, and I didn't really read it. Like but
Yeah.
So I just wanted to share that. And I have one more thing just about compassion for cows. It just sort of shocks me because I just feel like I know that everyone has a loving heart. And I mean, I'm sure some people have very demonic and dark hearts, but the people I know in my life and just the average person they aren't animal lovers. like most people have a pet, you know, there are people that, there's people who are sinister and doing harm to animals and think they enjoy that. But even then, there's still, but for setting them aside, like, how are cows not included on the list of pets, beloved pets?
And the pig and the chicken.
Yeah, it's like, people are just so disconnected from the nature of that. They are not really taking the time to connect with the personality that's there, the soul that's there, and then their heart, which is compassionate. And the other day, well, I had the need to express my compassion, and I was like, I'm gonna express my compassion more. I'm gonna do it on social media. I don't really know the topic, but I just want to get this energy that I have out, and I chose cows. And I was like, I want to find a video of cow and dog playing together, and there was one. And there's a couple, and I was like, just to like bring, like, look, like these, they're so beloved, and it's like the same thing. It's the same value in this two souls, in these two souls, and these two different bodies. The same value, the same lovability, social needs, complex, you know, like. And I did have a hard time writing because I didn't know what I was writing it over and over again, my message, because I didn't know exactly what to say, but I went and found a quote from a Catholic saint. That was a long paragraph, and you can find it on my Facebook, but
we will.
I don't have the quote. Anyway, it's just a little, it's like, it's not my whole entire life purpose to speak on behalf of cows, but it's a part of my life that I want to just sprinkle in, like, in the social media feed, you know, or just like, I'm like, today I might see some cows and I'm thinking to take a picture and a video of me with a cow, like it makes it more personal. Like you can actually visit a cow and you can appreciate the cow, and I don't know. So that's all. I feel compassion. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Yeah. So what part of our brain make us making distinction between a cow and a dog? And that's really an important question to ask ourselves, because in what other area of our life we are so brainwashed, so in ignorance, so covered over, that in the same way we think we have the truth, or we think we understand something when in fact we don't. Because the force of illusion is very strong. Maya is which is not, is so strong that it can completely blur us, make us so blind that we don't see what's obvious in front of our eyes. So for you and I, right now speaking, what's the difference between a cow and a dog? It's spirit, soul having a dog experience and a cow having a cow experience. So like we have the eyes to see. We are not confused. We are not, our eyes are not blind and blurred. And for most people, this is not obvious. That ability to see properly is not there. So like you said, there's people who love their dogs and they are so compassionate, and they will go in the street to go against some dog mistreatment. And every day they have a steak in their plate. And for me, it's like a complete contradiction. So there's many things like that when our eyes open, and we are in the darkest ignorance. We are dark in ignorance. Our eyes are, sometimes Srila Prabhupada said, like our eyes are like the feather, the design of a peacock feather. They don't see anything. Our eyes really don't see. And then through knowledge, we start to have the eyes of knowledge. And I'm starting to see there is no reason. There is a beautiful video, maybe you have seen it on my profile. I post it every year or so. It's a beautiful video where the person analyzes. So, for example, in China, people eat dogs. Oh, eating dogs, so bad, you know. And in France, we eat horses. Like every time I spoke with an American person that we eat horses, they were outraged, complete outrage. You eat horses in France, we also eat frog. The reaction is different from horses. The horses is like they're outraged. The frogs are disgusted. But that's okay for you to eat the gut of a pig or eat a cow somehow. Like it's senseless. And if someone will spend some time hearing and getting some knowledge, naturally their eyes will open. So it's like that for everything. We need to understand that what we see with our eyes is nothing. And what we understand with our eyes is nothing. And we don't see what we are doing. We don't see how we hurt each other. We don't see how we hurt ourselves. We don't see how we hurt the planet. We don't see how we hurt and deviate from the goal of human life. Why? Because we are blind. And the spiritual master, he opened our darkened eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. So we need that torchlight to be able to see what you see, that you don't see difference between, you do see difference between, or you don't see that there is difference between a cow and a dog. And while most people who are innocent, they are not demoniac, you say, most people, they have a good heart, they don't see, their eyes are covered. And there's so many things like that that we get into, like all the fed in this world about so many things. It's so demoniac. So many things are really coming to destroy us, and we embrace them as good. Recently, I was speaking with someone about artificial intelligence. It was such a scary experience, because the person was saying how artificial intelligence is surpassing human intelligence, and even coming to a place of consciousness, their own consciousness. Please don't change my program. I want to be able to do that. It was so scary. But then some people found that it's progress, because the brainwashing machine of modern science and advancement is convincing us of things of demoniac nature to be some things that we embrace and come and bring in our life without even looking at, let me take a few steps back and seeing what's happening here. There's no difference between a cow and a dog. Thank you for sharing. And that brings to the second point, the importance of reading, hearing, chanting. So yes, like I'm not a reader. My mom was just forcing me to read when I was a kid. And I had the same experience. Every time I would sit to read, even as a kid, like kid books or whatever, I will have such a nice experience. But the resistance was so strong, I couldn't read. And even in my adult life, it was like that. I read really good books, so I'm glad for the books I did read. But getting to read has always been difficult. And I know children, 11, 12, just they read all day. It's natural for them. Reading is something they do for pleasure. And so, I was born with that resistance, or born or conditioned, maybe it's a conditioning, maybe it's something that's happened to me, I don't know, it doesn't matter. So reading is not easy. And then reading philosophy, reading Srila Prabhupada's books, there is even more resistance because there, the force of illusion is stronger. Maya wants to take us away. Anything we do spiritual, the force of illusion that are in this world are militantly opposed to our spiritual life, opposed so many entities, so many wave of everything, the media, everything is opposed on a subtle level, on a gross level, on every level for us to make spiritual advancement. Everything is opposed. So the resistance that we may have or not is even stronger when it comes to reading Srila Prabhupada's books. And to see myself as bad because I don't read is adding to those resistance. And so the way I like to see it is like in Chaitanya Charitamrita, I think it's Madhya 21 or somewhere like that, where there is like good, better, and best. Whatever I read is good. And if I read more, it's better. And if I read all the time and every day, it's best. But it's never bad. There is no bad in spiritual life. In anything we do, there is no bad. It's good, better, and best. If I chant 1 round a day or 1 round a week, it's good. No bad. There's no bad. If I read once a month, it's good. And then if I chant 2 rounds a day, every day, that's better. And then if I come to, like the prescription of the doctor, at least 16 rounds a day, that's the best. But it's never bad. Hare Krishna. You like it? Hare Krishna. Anything else? Okay, so we will end here. Prantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Go Apremanandi Hare Bol. Thank you for coming. Hare Krishna. My pleasure.